Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews unboxing video, and in today's video, as you can see, we're going to be checking out the latest starter box for Warhammer Underworlds. It's a new season and this is the Nethermaze. So you may be thinking it doesn't feel like that long ago since Harrowdeep, and you would be right in thinking they've decided to put basically speed up the transition of seasons. So this is coming probably 6 months earlier than we would normally have, or maybe not quite 6 months, but they do want to churn out more of these seasons than before. Not sure if I'm a massive fan of that. I think I would have preferred a new edition every year like they have been. But there you go. They obviously have a reason behind it, probably to make a little bit more money and to add more mechanics as well, because I haven't unboxed this yet. However, I do know there's a few new mechanics that weren't in Harrowdeep that are now in this new edition of the game. So, Nethermaze pits the Daughters of Khaine versus the Skaven, which for me is very exciting because I've been slowly collecting the Skaven army for some time now. And I think this and, you know, the potential rumours that we might have a new Skaven book before the end of the year, it's got me very excited to get a 2,000 points worth of Skaven army ready to play before the end of the year. So let's just flip this box over. Really nice artwork there on the front. Let's flip this over. So we've got a sneaky peek at the warbands. Build new warbands, select your decks, battle your rivals. New boards, new cards. So run through the contents. You get 4 Shadeborn fighters, they're your daughters. You've also got 5 Skittershanks Claw Pack fighters, 4 double-sided fighter cards for the Shadeborn, 5 double-sided fighter cards for the Claw Pack, 32 Shadeborn cards, 32 Skittershank Claw Pack cards, 48 Universal Power and Objective cards, 36 Grand Alliance Power and Objective cards, a 52-page rulebook, 2 double-sided game boards, 114 tokens, and 11 Nethermaze Underworlds dice. So pretty much the standard contents of a starter box. That is the new versions where you've got 2 ready-made decks, 1 for each of your warbands, and then extra cards so you can build your own deck or mix them into your older warbands. So I think it's time we open this box up and check out the contents. Let's just spin that back around. Okay, so what do we have in here? Okay. So the first thing's greeting us is the, so I have actually opened this once before, by the way. So we've got the instructions on how to build your warband. So at the front there, you've got all of your Skaven, how to build those. And then on the back, you've got all your Daughters of Khaine. So they're all easy build. They always are with Underworld, so no glue required. In fact, really, you want to stay clear of the glue completely because it can sometimes make these easy builds a bit of a pain, because like the really finesse, like how much of a gap and stuff you've got on these easy build, and sort of dry glue can expand and make a mess. We'll go through this next bit properly in a few moments, but that is the core rulebook. Shrink wrap together, we've got the tokens and we've also got the game board, so we'll open those up again in a few moments. We've got 2 sprues, so I'll just put that one there for now and we'll have a close-up in a second, and the second one there. I will point out what's happened with that part in a minute. We've got the dice, some nice light blue and dark blue dice there. And then we've got a sealed pack of 4 decks. So you've got your deck for your Claw Pack, your deck for your Shadeborn, your Grand Alliance pack, and the other pack which name escapes me. But we'll crack those open in a moment and have a closer look in a second. And that is your box empty. So let's take a closer look at the sprues next. And we're going to start with the Skaven on some nice brown plastic. Underworlds always have coloured plastic so that you can open them, build them, and use them straight out of the box if you wanted. Hopefully by the time this video gets edited for the release, the NDA drop, I will have had these painted, which I'll add on to the end of the video. If I'm unsuccessful in my mission, I will have progress over on our Twitter feed, or I might put some stills in towards the end of the video, showing where I'm up to. I'll tell you what I really like about these Skaven. I really like these bases. They're like some of the coolest Underworld bases I've seen so far. Proper like sewers. Very, very cool. And they stick with the sewer theme. I've actually got next to me here, just by chance, the original Claw Lord from the original Skaven. Just doing on him. The original Skaven warband for Underworlds. And he came on a cool sewer type base. So I'd add him, seeing as he was right there. So yeah, that's the Skaven. Really nice models. Like, they're going to be fun to build and paint. Now, we have had a bit of a casualty. So when we opened up this box, there was already a slightly broken part. One of the ladies. Now, it's easily fixable. And obviously we've taken it completely off the sprue now. This is probably just a one-off. I wouldn't expect everybody's to be like this. This can sometimes happen. Luckily, Games Workshop are really good for sorting out any broken pieces. So if you are unfortunate to ever, whether it be this box or anything else, have any parts that require replacing, please do get in touch with the Games Workshop customer service. They're really good at getting that sorted for you. But let's check out the rest of the sprue. So you get some cool purple plastic for these ladies. Take a really close look at all those cool bases. It's always nice having sculpted bases, which the whole Warhammer Underworlds ones always are. Yeah, really cool. Flip that over. Again, all easy build. So you'll be battling in the Underworlds, or in the Nethermaze, very quickly. So the shade one are like a mixture of what I would say is traditional Daughters of Khaine kind of appearance, along with I can't remember what they're called, but there was the warband for Warcry, which was Daughters of Khaine, but a very different looking Daughters of Khaine force. I don't know if they're what the grand plan with Daughters of Khaine is, because these do have a slightly different appearance, some of these models. I don't know, maybe we'll see an evolution on the line over time. So that is the models. Let's take a look next at the core rules. So I haven't been through this yet. So I'm literally going to be looking at this with fresh eyes. So apologies. This might seem a bit boring because I might be reading quite quickly. But I'll try my best not to skip anything and to point out all the major facts. So we've got some story delving into the next season and giving us some background on the location of the Nethermaze, carrying on from Harrowdeep, of course. Some really dark artwork going on, escaping the nightmare. Looking forward to reading through this properly. I mean, with lore and stuff, I don't really like talking about all the ins and outs of the lore in these videos, because I feel like it really needs to be read and enjoyed by you when you buy it. Breakdown of the two warbands that come in this box, the Shadeborn and Skittershank's Claw Pack. Breaks down your contents of the starter box, so all your different cards, so universal cards, your specific cards, your rivals decks for each of your warbands. What the tokens are, talks about the game boards, all the names of all your different warriors, tells you what you're looking for on fight cards. If you've played Underworlds before, a lot of this is like, yeah, rinse and repeat, but there is some new sort of keywords and content in here that we will get to. Your traits, talks about how the rivals decks now work, which we'll probably go into a little bit more detail on the website. Constructing your deck, if you want to. So, in fact, we'll mention it a little bit now. So, rivals decks are not to be tinkered with, really. They're sort of set decks. Some of them are universal, some of them are unique for each faction. but you can still also play the traditional way where you can structure your own deck. So you build your own card using universal ones or sort of faction-specific ones. And that tells you how you do that, how many cards you would have to have. And the next 2 pages break down the different types of cards. So you've got your objective cards, which score you glory, your upgrade cards, which you can spend glory on to upgrade your fighters, and your gambit cards, which are like you use either, you know, instantly, or you use them in certain situations which have certain effects. It gives you some additional card rules there, just in case you encounter any issues. Talks about the battlefield, blocked hexes, the hexes you can't go through, incomplete hexes, starting hexes, lethal hexes which deal damage. Again, all this is still the same as previous versions, counting distances. But, you know, you might be new to Underworld, so you're going to need to know all this basic stuff. Playing the game, so revealing your warbands, placing your boards, rolling off. Again, all exactly the same as previous Underworlds. All your different all your markings mean on the dice. So your attack dice, defense dice, and magic dice. Your feature tokens, these can be like your objective tokens. How to sort of draw cards at the beginning of the game. Placing your fighters, and then obviously commencing the game. Again, talks about the tokens you'll be using. And it gives you a page there that describes how a turn is played out. It breaks down each component of the your turn. So you've got all the rules for activating, for moving, for charging, for attacking, how line of sight works, what happens if you have any successful action, driving back, combat. It's all in here. It's all dead easy to digest. It talks about a few keywords like the trap keyword, if you can't get pushed back. Again, all the same as previous ones here. Can't save in supporting attacks. Again, that's a carryover. Going out of action, dealing damage, healing. We've got, right, this is where we might get some new keywords. So cleavers, info and snare, grievous scything, stagger, knockbacks, guard actions, using your spells. If you've got casters, I know the Skaven don't have a caster in their warband, but the Daughters of Khaine do, and there are other warbands already available that have casters. The power step. This is like where you can play some gambits or some upgrades. There's some additional actions. So it goes into those details here. Talks about modifiers. So there are some cards that may let you get extra attacks or make it easier to roll the dice that you need. Some spells will scatter. This again shows you how that works. Sometimes when you push your enemy back, it can scatter. There are different reaction cards. Speaking of which, it gives a really intense breakdown on how reactions work and in what order, which is really good because I don't think it's ever gone to this much detail previously, at least not that I can remember from Harrow Deep anyway. So it's really good that it goes to that level of detail and talks about the different types of reactions. And then, of course, we've got the end phase, which happens at the end of your turn. This is where you score objectives and things like that. And again, you can sort of do different things, draw cards, discard cards, things like that. You play on rounds 2 and 3, and that's, of course, when the game ends. You tot up your objectives and see who is victorious. So you always play on even if you've got no enemies. So it is still possible to finish the game and win even if you've got no characters left in that last turn. It then goes on to talk about multiplayer games. So all those rules so far I've covered if you're playing 2-player. You can go all the way up to 4-player in these as well. If you are playing a 4-player game, it tells you how to set up your boards, how you're going to roll off between the 4 of you, how the objective cards work. I mean, it's dead easy. It usually says on the objective card, if you're playing with 3 or more players, this is actually how you obtain that objective. It tends to be a little bit harder or a little bit changed to take into consideration the fact that there's less space on the board and more players. And then it obviously breaks down all your different reactions and stuff, which may work slightly differently in a multiplayer game. You've then got a very handy glossary of terms. So the glossary covers all your different keywords, including some new keywords, which I must have missed when I was going through the rule books. I'm sure there are some new keywords that I've missed. Might have a look at that in a moment whilst I'm opening up some of the content there. Again, some more terms, and then you've got your tiles. They've all got their own unique names, which they've pointed out there. And then finally, for quick reference, on the back of the book, they always like to have this turn order. So you got your round sequence, how the end phase works, your activation options, steps of a turn, combat sequence. So nice and easy and quick to go for your turn. What I really like about Underworlds is even if you haven't played it for a while, once you've played through a couple of turns, it just starts to flow really fast. It's a really unique kind of game for that compared to other Warhammer games. A game of Underworlds can be quite quick. So yeah, that's always good, especially in a competitive scene. So that's the core rulebook for Nethermaze. We're now going to check out some of the shrink wrap contents. So I'll get these unwrapped and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got a sheet of tokens here from the seal pack. These are all really easy to punch out, all double-sided. Again, some nice artwork on those. You get 2 sheets of those, in fact. There you go. That's the second sheet. And then you've got 2 fold-out reversible game mats. So there's your first one. Again, if you haven't played Underworlds before, it doesn't take up a ton of space. That's your first tile. So you have it on either side of those. And then you've got your second tile here. There you go. Flip that over. They're really high quality tiles as well, that come with Underworlds, which is good. Because you're going to be carrying them around and stuff for games. Perhaps playing in Bugmans, for example. So the last thing we are going to take a look at is the cards. So we'll get these open. And some more universal cards there. So I'm not going to go through all of those universal cards. But what I will quickly do is go through each of these rival decks. So we're going to start with the Skaven. Just slide this off here. And we'll just quickly go through some of these cards. So, talks about the warband on the front. And then you've got each of the fighters. And their inspired version on the reverse. So you've got 5 for the Skaven. There's your boss. We're looking forward to seeing what Assassins do in the new Skaven book when it appears. I hope it is this year, but we don't know. They do really need an update. Some really nice artwork on those cards. So this deck here, you would, because it's a Rivals deck, you would just use this deck in a game. You wouldn't add or change anything here. Some cool objective cards. Again, some really nice artwork. Some very thematic Skaven cards there. And then we'll just have a very quick look as well at the Daughters of Khaine. So the Daughters of Khaine have 4 fighters, including a caster. Oh, in fact, maybe they do have a caster. Yeah, they do have a caster there. Cool. And then again, they'll have some very thematic cards, as you would expect from Marafi's agents. Again, this is a Rivals deck, so you can start playing with this deck as soon as you've got it open and your warband built. You have some cool objective cards. Very nice. Let's pop those back there. So that, in fact, brings us to the end of this video. Now, just between takes there, I wanted to check what the new keywords were that appeared in this, as they mentioned them on Warhammer Community. And they mentioned a map, a domain, and domain keyword. Now, they don't appear in the glossary, and I've had a quick flick through all the cards and couldn't see them coming up. So by the time we've written the review, we might have come across these and we'll be able to explain it in more detail. But for the purpose of this video, I'm afraid, I've got no examples to show you those new keywords. But as you've seen, it plays very similar to Harrowdeep. It's just moving on the narrative, which is going to help them introduce new warbands into Warhammer Underworlds. We're of course seeing them kind of touching on multiple warbands for each army now, just like a different take on them. So for example, we saw the Claw Lord, this kind of generic clan rats in a very early Skaven warband. We've now got Clan Eshin in Nethermaze. So I really like the miniatures. I can't wait to build and paint them, especially the Skaven. I do really like playing Underworlds. I haven't played enough of Harrowdeep. We need to really get back on that and get some more games under our belt. I don't know if I like this speeding up seasons. I think one a year was fine, but you know, Games Workshop have their ways. They obviously want to drive on the narrative, and if it means us getting new shiny beautiful looking warbands more often, fair enough. Okay, you know, you got me there, because the warbands are still pretty cheap considering what you get, especially with like the Rivals decks that you can now get as well. So it brings even the older warbands up to date and allows you to play them with kind of a competitive deck. So yeah, that's Nethermaze. You can check out the full written review over on Sprues and Brews. The link to that will actually be in the YouTube notes as well, in the video notes, so you can click and go straight to that. This is up for pre-order right now. If you could do us a massive solid pre-order through Element Games, it will save you some pennies and it will also help what we do here on Sprues and Brews. One final thank you to Games Workshop for sending us this box to unbox and review for you guys. Hopefully we'll have some nice models painted for your viewing pleasure, either coming up at the end of this video or on the article. And yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy those. Until next time, have a great time hobbying, and we'll speak to you all again very soon. Bye!